Okay, cool. So I just started the recording. I am in the V2 cloud. After we logged into the V2 cloud, I will show you your IBM username and passwords in just a minute, but let me first take you through the steps of setting up your environment. It's a one-time deal so that you can access the IBM machine. So the first step would be that all of you will double click on this icon on the desktop called ACS, which is Access Client Solution icon. Double click on it. It takes a few seconds to load. Sometimes, I mean, like the way it flashed and went away, it did that to me last week as well. And then after a little while, multiple windows opened up. I don't know. Are you guys also experiencing something similar?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what I did last week was this. I closed this and I reconnected. And for some weird reason, after I connected back, it opened two windows for me. So if it is doing that, see if you can, just close the tab and click on the connect button again. I will also take it to our tech over here. In fact, let me do that right now. Okay, so okay, so I was just doing the ticket for that. And once everybody is here, should be here by now, right? Jalen, yours blink. Were you able to get back in? Then were you able to see it? Okay, cool. Okay. So what we do here is right at the bottom, you see management. In the management, you guys click on system configurations. There's a little link, system configurations. You click that and this window will open up for you. Then over here on this window, you should click on new. Once you hit new, another dialog box will open up. I just wrote in the chat, oops. I will paste it again.
Yeah, click what?
Click the new button. You see the new button right at the bottom out of the many buttons? Are you this far where it says system configurations? Dar?
What does it say on the screen?
Hold on a second. Where are you? I need to know first. Which screen are you on right now? Are you
The
on
button.
system configuration screen or are you on add new system screen?
I'm on just the
The IBM iAccess solution screen. You're still on the first screen.
yeah.
Okay, so look at the bottom under management. Do you see a link that reads system configurations?
Yep.
Click that link, and then you will see the system configurations window, and then hit the new button, and then you will see add new systems window.
Okay.
Okay, now I just wrote in the chat the information that I want you to put under the system name. In the system name, you will write the name that I just posted in the chat, deathstar.gtc.edu, and then you click OK. Once you click OK, it will show, the name will show here in the list, and then you simply click close here. So step number one is to bring the system configurations. Step number two, in the drop-down box under the welcome, you see a system colon in the top left corner. There's a little drop-down box. For now, it will say select a system for you. But when you click the drop-down box, the deathstar.gtc.edu will show up in the list. Click on that. And give me a green check when you guys are done with that. Jalen, I just read your question. The reason we need V2 Cloud for this, because you cannot install IBM software on the local computers. You don't have the license for that. We do. So to save you from having to install it on your local computer, we are giving a V2 Cloud environment with ready to go in environment setup for you. Okay. So now after this, what is the name? What is the official name of the green screen, guys? Official name for green screen.
I have a question. How do you remove a system?
What do you mean?
Because I accidentally misspelled it.
Oh, you just hit system configurations, click on the system and hit delete. Got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, then hit new again and then type it correctly. That's why I gave you guys the typed out version in the chat, because I knew somebody will make a mistake. Ismail got it. It's a 5250. That's the official name for green screen. 5250 is basically a terminal environment which helps you connect to the operating system using command line. So 5250 is just a terminal service. That's what we call it. And what's a terminal? A terminal means a client. So if client wants to connect to the server, needs some kind of a way to connect to it. And 5250 is a command line based way of doing it. Okay, so in the list under general, you see 5250 emulator, you click on that. And when you do, you will see a login screen like this. Okay, so let me clear your feedback so that you can give me a new green check when you see the window that shows up on my screen with a sign on. Do not enter any username or password. You do not have the username and password for this one. You do not use the Blackboard username and Blackboard password to access this. Blackboard username and Blackboard password is only to access the V2 Cloud, but not the IBM server. So to get to this screen, you click on the 5250 emulator link under the general. So when you click on 5250 emulator under general, you will see the screen that I see right here in front of me. And do not log in. You do not have the credentials yet. I will be giving you the credentials to log into the IBM machine. So you need your Blackboard information to log into one login. Then you need it again to log into V2 Cloud. But once you are inside the V2 Cloud to access IBM information, IBM server, you need an IBM username and password. So I got the check from Nathan, from Ismail, Pam, let me know you got it. Dar and Jalen. Dar and Jalen.
What?
Are you on the screen that I am right now, waiting to log in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just needed a green check. Okay, now I will show you your usernames and passwords, okay? First of all, go in the password box, and I'm writing in the chat. All of you have the same password to log in, but you will change it after you log in. So your password is, I just wrote in the chat. So you write that password in all lowercase in the password box, and I will tell you your username. So don't hit OK. Just type that password in the password box. And this is the Excel workbook. So Xavier, even you should make note of this stuff. Please make a note of your IDs, okay? And then when you do that, this is your password, your default password for all of you. So please, can everybody read my screen? Can you see your usernames? Okay, so please make a note of your username. And this is your password for now. Once you enter this username, whatever your username is, do not pick at somebody else's username, please. Enter the new pass and click OK. It will give you an error dialog box. Please wait on the dialog box, and I'll tell you what to do next. Okay, did everybody made a note of their IDs? I need some green checks, yes. Some kind of a confirmation from you, please. Okay. Xavier, did you also made a note of yours, right? Awesome. Okay, cool. So now what you do is you see a little dialog box which is asking you that do you want to change your password? Hit say yes. I want to change my password. And then when the new dialog box shows up, in the old password, you type the new pass, which is your current password. And the new password that you will pick, follow these rules, okay? Come up with length of 8 should be the length, at least the length of 8 should be the length of your password. Should have one digit somewhere in the middle. Do not put two digits next to each other. Single digit somewhere in the middle, anywhere, okay? And do not use the two same letters next to each other, okay? So do not, so if you have a password that looks like my name, that's a no, okay? If you have a password like this, then that's also a no, because you cannot have two digits, no two same letters next to each other. Those are the no rules. So I'm clearing your feedbacks again. Once everybody is done setting up their passwords, again, let me know in the chat or through a green check.
So no two letters next to each other?
No two same letters.
No two same letters. And
Yep.
no two numbers. What about the numbers? Is it just no two numbers next to each other?
Yes, just one digit.
Okay.
Yep, so when you're done setting up your password, you click OK. And let me get to my screen where I enter my username and password. And all of you, after you set up your password successfully, should see a screen like this. So I'm still waiting for confirmation from Mr. Dar to see if Mr. Dar is done setting up his password.
You cool with me having a number at the end?
Yeah. Okay. Now that everybody is on this screen, this is where you now enter your username and press a tab on the keyboard, hit a tab key, and then enter your password. Now, when you're entering your password, you will notice that the password does not echoes back to you. Rather, only the cursor moves on the screen. When the cursor moves on the screen and the password doesn't shows up, when you're done entering the password, then you press enter. And I am waiting for you right here on the screen. Let me clear the previous feedbacks. And if you could give me a feedback again, if you have already given me one before, to make sure that everybody is on the screen.
Did you hand us the username?
Say that again.
Did you hand us the username?
Yes, remember that ITPA and the 3 digits?
Could you show me? Could you show me it again?
Remember? ITPA forward. You probably must have entered it to reset your password.
Yeah, I did, but I forgot it that fast.
Yeah, make a note of that. Because you'll be needing that to do work outside of the class. So yeah. Okay. You got it? Okay. So when you enter your username and password, and as you successfully log in, what is this guy that we see, the first thing that we see after we successfully log in? Chapter 1, 2 weeks ago, we learned about this. And we reviewed it last week. So can anybody answer that question? This terminal is the environment, Jalen. So this whole terminal environment is called 5250. You're logging into the machine, and after you successfully log in, the first thing that you see is what? That was in chapter 1. Okay, okay. But remember, you do not have an excuse for chapter 1 because chapter 1 is available to you for free on the internet. So you cannot make that excuse that I did not have the book for chapter 1. Too bad, Jalen. Nice try. So in your chapter 1, go to the place where it talks about user profile. Okay. Go to where it says user profile, and it talks about a few things in the user profile. Let's see if you can answer now that I've told you where to look for the information. It's not menu though. It's not menu. Ismail already said that. And I did not said yes to that. And by the way, why is it not a menu? Remember the 4 things a menu must have? Who can tell me that? What are the 4 things that a menu has? See, this one does not have a list. This one does not have a name in the top left corner, right? It doesn't have any ID in the top left, doesn't have the list, doesn't have a command prompt, does not have the function keys. None of the properties of a menu this screen fulfills. So it can't be a menu. Can this be a help screen? Very good, Nathan. Nathan got it. It's an initial program, okay? This is the initial program. The first screen that you see when you first successfully log in is the initial program. On this screen, you will see if you have made unsuccessful login attempts, on this screen, you will see that you have made X number of login attempts in unsuccessful login attempts. That means once you hit a 3 count, a count of 3, your account gets disabled. Okay, so if your account gets disabled, you need to email me with your IBM ID. Don't send me your student ID. Send me your IBM ID and say, well, you know, this is my IBM ID. My account got disabled. So can you please enable it? No, I can enable your account, but I cannot see your password. So if you have forgotten your password, then I may have to reset a password for you. So when you send me an email, provide me with little bit more information besides my account got disabled, period. And now, how am I supposed to go and figure you out of the 700 user names that I have on the system? Probably it's now over 1,000 now. So, you know, I mean, so that's why provide me with some information.
I'm wondering, what did you say the 4 requirements for main menu were?
Don't worry, I said it in French. Now I'll explain in English. The 4 are right at the top. Right at the top, you see in the top left corner an ID. In the middle, you see the description. On the right-hand side, you see the name of the system. So that's part of the header, okay? Then right in the middle, you see a list of items, which you don't see on this one. Then right at the bottom, you see a command prompt where you can enter your commands. And underneath that, you see function keys. So this screen is missing a lot of that information, so it can't really be a menu. It doesn't categorize to be a menu, okay? Now, my next question was, and if you look in chapter 1, it has all of this information, okay? I'm just reviewing that. When you look at, I mean, like, can I say, is this a help screen? Can we call this a help screen? And you'll be like, no, because we already know it's an initial program, right? Okay, is this a prompt screen? How will you rule that out, that it is not a prompt screen? There is nothing to be filled out. Prompt screen will always have something to be filled out. It's like a form, right? Okay, is this a list screen? No, because list screen also requires you to put some options in the left-hand corner. There is nothing on the screen that you can interact with. The only thing you can do is press enter. Okay, and when you press enter, it takes you to the main menu. Now you're looking at the menu, the very first menu. So right here at the top is your header. Okay, then is your list, then is your prompt, and then are your function keys. Okay. So we looked at one example of a menu so far. Now, in this list, I would like you to push option number 5. Option 5 at the bottom in the prompt. And 5 will take you to programming. Okay, now press enter. You put 5 down there in the prompt, and then you hit enter. Okay, now is this a menu? Yep, it is a menu. Okay, look at all the 4 things that it qualifies. It has an ID, it has a description, it has system, it has menu items, it has a prompt at the bottom, like selection or command prompt, and then it has function keys. Okay. What function key should I press to go back to the main menu? F12, right? Okay, I can press F12 and I will be able to go. Now, for some of you who are working on a laptop, for some of the laptops, the function keys are mapped with an FN key on the keyboard. So if F12 does not work for you and you're on a laptop, maybe try FN F12. So however it's mapped for you on your computer. And that'll take you back to the main menu. Okay. Now, in the command prompt at the bottom, type the command CRT LIB. CRT LIB. Can anybody tell me what the command's for?
Create a library.
Create a library. Very good. Very good. Okay, create a library. Our commands say case sensitive in IBM iOS. Are commands case sensitive? No, they're not case sensitive, right? I could type it in any case. However, when you type a command, what is it that, what do you call that extra information that you supply with the command? We learned about that in chapter 3. Extra information that you supply with a command. Sometimes that extra information is required, mandatory, sometimes it's optional. Very good, that's parameter, okay? Since I do not know, for example, I do not know the parameters for the create library command, I will press F4 function key, okay? F4, and that will bring the prompt screen, and that's a function key, tells you right at the bottom as well, that press F4. Now that's called the prompt screen. That's where you can do your fill in the blanks. Okay.
You said do what?
Did you type CRTLIB?
Yeah, but it says LIBL not found.
No. And you don't put LIBL. It's just LIB.
Yeah, that's what I put. And it says command CRTLIB in library.
Hold on a second, Dar. Did you type CRTLIB?
Wait, are you saying B or V?
B as in boy.
Oh, I typed in V.
Okay, B as in boy, CRTLIB as in boy. Can you see my screen also or no?
Yeah, with a split like this, not really.
Yeah, you have to. You have to see my screen too. Otherwise, you know, it'll be very difficult for you to just follow with hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wish I did have a bigger screen though.
But you know, I mean, switch back and forth. So when I am instructing, then look at my screen. When I'm done instructing, then probably switch to your screen, something like that, you know. Okay, so CRTLIB, and then I pressed F4, and that took me to this screen. Now, when I am on this screen, and all the parameters that are mandatory are either filled for me, or the ones that really can be customized are empty for me. Does anybody remember if a value starts with an asterisk, what does that mean? Good, it's a system value, very good. How many system values do you see on the screen? Very good. Pam, what 4 system values do you see?
It's actually 3. I counted the prod.
Okay, 3. So we have prod, test, and blank. Okay. Now let's say if I'm not sure what to put in the first box, I will press help. How do you bring help? Okay, you press F1 and the level 1 help opens up for you. And it tells you you should not use a name that begins with a character Q. Why? Why should we not name it Q, starting with Q?
Because anything with Q was supplied by IBM.
Very good. It tells you the reason right away. The system assumes that libraries with those names are system libraries, okay? So this is a required parameter. It also tells you that you must provide the value for this one, okay? Specify the name of the library to be created. That's a short help. If I want to see more help, what should I do now? What should I do next?
Kind of having trouble with those, not the command prompts, but dang, what are those named? The function keys.
Are you on a laptop, Dar?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have an FN key on the laptop somewhere at the bottom next to your space bar?
Oh, function.
Yeah, so you got to use a combination of first press and hold FN and then press the function keys. Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. So now that you are looking at the library and I want to see more, I will press F2 for extended help. And the extended help shows up here. Okay. Now I start looking at the whole thing in a little bit more detail. A library with the name blah, blah can only be created in the system. A library with the name so-and-so can only be created. Now, if I want to look at more information, I need to press page down. So you see in the bottom left corner, it says more, bottom right corner, it says more. That means when I hit page down, I can see the next page. Okay. So like that, I can go down. And I can read about stuff, you know, all these different system values, what exactly they mean, what they can do, okay? So this is like a much detailed help. If you keep going down further, one of the good things about this help, it actually gives you examples. Okay, so if you go a few page downs until you can see what I'm looking at right now on my screen, it says example number 1, creating a production library. So when creating a production library, if you just say, I want to create a library, the name of the library is this, and this is the description of the library, you did not even put the type of the library's production. Since that field was automatically filled for you, it automatically assumes that it's a production library. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about the syntax today. That's part of chapter 2, to learn about the syntax. Okay, so don't worry about that yet. Okay, now when somebody wants to create a test library, then is required to put in the type, because the test library needs to be mentioned. Otherwise, it assumes it's a production library. And then you have more examples. And then right at the bottom, it shows you the list of errors that are most commonly used by programming languages like control language or RPG that is trying to run a CL command. And so it has to do some error handling. So you'll be learning about the error handling stuff next semester when you learn the control language. Okay. Now I want to come out of the help. But I do not want to completely exit the help. I want to go to the previous help menu, which was F1. How can I do that?
Go back.
How do you go back to the F1 help? F12. Yep. Function key F12 will take you back to the F1 help, and function key F2 will be closed, but you're still in help. Okay, now press F2 again. So extended help opens again. Now, press F3. Function key, F3. What is the difference between F12 and F3 that you noticed?
One of them goes back a step, and the other one goes completely back.
So F3 closes help, all the help. And F12 just went back one menu or one screen, not menu, one screen, okay? So cancel versus close. Now, if I want to come out of this screen, what should I press? I want to exit this screen, F3. So anytime you want to close something, you press F3, okay? So now the prompt is closed. Today, later on, we will create libraries, so don't worry about that, we didn't get to create one. We will. I'm just right now showing you the different screens. How many screens have we seen this far, guys? From chapter 4, it talks about certain screen types. How many of those screen types have we seen so far today? Just 3. Very good. Okay. Can anybody name those 3 screens? Menu, prompt, and help. Very good. Okay. Now let's look at the 4th screen that is left, correct? Okay. I am typing another command, which is DSP LIB. I also typed that same command in the chat. DSP LIB. What do you think that stands for?
Display library.
Display library. Okay. And what is the library? Chapter 2. Sorry, chapter 3. We talked about this last week. Library. What is it? How do you define a library? We also talked about it in chapter 1, but let's see. How many of you remember? What is a library? A library is close enough to a folder from the Windows world. It holds what? It logically, not physically, it logically holds objects. Very good. Okay. And what information does it hold about objects? Let's see who remembers chapter 2. It's on maybe 2nd or 3rd page into the chapter 2, where we talked about the layered architecture, which was, by the way, your homework. I know Jalen did not do his homework yet, right? Because he's still reading. No, yeah. Right. How about the rest of you? You should have done the homework for chapter 2. It's due tonight.
Said chapter 2 is due tonight.
Say not 2, I mean 3. The unit 2, I mean. Unit 2.
Yeah.
Chapter 3. Yeah. That talks about the layered architecture. The layered architecture says something about objects in a library. That objects virtual address is in the library, not physical address. Virtual address. Why? Why not physical? How about we set aside 5-6 minutes for you guys to read chapter 3, the beginning pages, where it talks about the layered architecture of IBM iOS. So I'm going to set aside time till 7:10 and then give you those 6-7 minutes to read the layered architecture from chapter 3. I will ask you questions once you guys are done reading, so don't put any answers right now in the chat. Okay, guys, are you ready for some questions? Chapter 3, layered architecture. What is the benefit of power hypervisor? Very good. To be able to run different operating systems. Okay. What two layers are specially designed for IBM iOS? For it to talk to the underlying hardware. Very good, Pamela. Pamela, respond to everyone as opposed to a direct message. So Pamela said TIMI and SLIC, SLIC. Okay. And Xavier also, when you are responding, guys, respond to everyone in the chat. Okay. Thank you. So TIMI and SLIC layers. So in this operating system, IBM creates the internal licensed internal code, okay, which is very specific to the IBM iOS. What is the job of the internal code? This licensed internal code, which is specially designed for IBM iOS, what's the job of this internal code? What kind of instructions object-based, okay? And these object-based instructions are coming from where? Where are they coming from? Logical machine. Pay special attention to these words. So when IBM iOS is running on a physical computer, to the physical computer, IBM iOS is running inside a logical machine. It's not running inside a physical machine. To us it is, but to the actual machine it is not. Okay, so one logical machine may be running IBM iOS, another logical machine may be running. What are the other two operating systems that IBM Power System is licensed to run?
Linux and Unix.
Okay, Xavier wrote the other one, Linux and AIX. So each one of them is a logical machine to the underlying hypervisor layer, which does the translation work for the physical machine, okay? So that's what basically makes it a layered machine architecture. What's the job of the TIMI layer? TIMI layer is responsible for taking the instructions from the logical machine and taking it down to the internal code, which will then interpret it so that it can take it down to the physical machine. What is the storage like on this physical machine?
It has a lot of it.
No, there's a word, there's a keyword I'm looking for that is used for the storage. I'm not asking for the size of it or how much. There is a special word that is used for the storage. I'm talking about the permanent storage. Yep, Pamela got it. It's on page 84. It's right at the bottom. It's in bold letters. It says single level storage. Okay. What is a single level storage? So the upper layer, which is the logical machine, cannot see where things get stored on the physical machine. And everything on the physical machine gets stored. It doesn't matter it's a main or secondary. It all got stored in this one massive storage called single level storage. It's a single homogeneous mass shared across the board by all the non-physical machines running on the system, or all the logical machines. No logical machine will have ever direct access to the underlying hardware. They won't. So everything gets treated on the single level storage here. Okay. Now read that paragraph, the entire paragraph, starting from the third line, which reads when objects are created, all the way down to the end of the paragraph. That will answer the question I asked you when I wrote that command that you see on my screen, DSPLIB. That's how the whole conversation started. Now, does that answer your question that I asked earlier, that what exactly is held inside a library about objects? So when objects are created, they are written to the single level storage and are assigned a permanent virtual address. This address is placed in a pointer managed by the library in which the objects resides. So the library manages these virtual address pointers. The virtual storage address will not be reused during the life of the system, even after the object itself has been deleted. An address translation algorithm at the micro level provides efficient direct addressing of the object in real memory. Real memory management, both main and secondary, becomes a function of the internal code and not of the application, so you have no control over it. Among other advantages, this design lets different jobs share the same object concurrently. Okay, so that's what I was asking you earlier, that what does the library holds about the objects? Can you create an object and not put it in a library? No, you have to have the object in the library, okay? So every person is given what? A default library, right? A default library is given to every person, and that default library is where objects get stored when no other library is provided, okay? If you're trying to locate an object and the default library is not given, or any library is not given, and you're trying to locate an object, what kind of search is that? What kind of search is when you search for an object, but do not give the library name? The answer is on page number 88, the second bullet point, first sentence. Page 88 from the top, second bullet point, first sentence. It's a simple object name. That's one answer from page 86. And another answer is unqualified names. Both are okay. Both are valid answers, okay? Unqualified name, which comes from page 88, and simple object name that comes from page 86. When you do that, the system has to start searching all the libraries in your library list, and that's where we're getting to right now. When you type the command dsplib, okay, dsplib, and hit enter, it displays you the library. The library that is the list of libraries that you have not just have access to, but they're part of your display library list. Means when you do not provide the name of the library, these are the libraries that the system will search in for an object.
You said type of what?
I already wrote in the chat the command. And then when you press enter after typing that command, you will see a library list. What type of screen is this? Exactly, work with screen. A work with screen is a screen in which you will see options on the left-hand side, and whatever options you can choose listed at the top in the blue or purplish color. And right at the bottom, you have the function keys, but you do not have a prompt. You don't have a command prompt. Okay. So here, if I want to look at a certain library, for example, you all will see that each library has a type. Some libraries have the type sys, which means that they are a system library, SYS, sys. System library, okay? If the library name has CUR, it means it's a current library. And you can only have one and only one current library. And if it has USR, that means it's a user library. And you can have up to 250 user libraries in the library list. But you can have far more libraries that you have right of access to than 250. And 250 itself is a pretty large number. Usually people don't hit that large of a number in their library list. But anyway, so here you can see the libraries that start with the letter Q. That means that those are the system provided libraries. The library that we created at Gateway is GTC SYS. And then each one of you have your own current library, which is ITPA and your 3 digits. Okay. If you want to look inside a library, all you got to do is click next to the library. You see a dash. On the dash, you type number what? What number will you type to go inside and peek inside the library? Okay, smile. How did you know 5? Why not 1, 2, 3, 4? Why not 11? Why not 7? Because that's what it says on the top. That's the only option you have, 5. Okay, so you push 5 and you press enter, and here you are inside your library looking at your objects. So this was the 4th screen that we wanted to see. So now that we have seen all 4 screens, the menu, the help, the prompt, the list with, or work with screen. So if you provide a qualified name, that means you provide the name of the library / the name of the object, then it will look for that object only in that library, no other library. If it doesn't find it, that's it. That leads me to my next question. What is the significance of an object type? What is the significance of object type?
It determines how the object is going to be used in the system.
it determines how you will use the object in the system, what commands can work on the object, what commands will not work on the object. So some of the object types include, can you guys give me some examples of object types?
Library.
Library is an object type, okay, good. Program is another object type. File is another object type. You can see some of the object types on page number 85, table 3.1. Okay. What do you call file extensions in IBM iOS? Okay, what kind of an attribute? Because there are several attributes that an object has. What is the more specific name for this attribute? Very good, Xavier. It is called subtype. Okay, so file extension is called subtype. Okay, so when you are looking for an object in your library list, let me get out of this by pressing F3, and I'll press F3 once, and that'll take me all the way to the main menu. Okay, so F3 will take me all the way back to the main menu. So now when you're looking for an object and you do not provide the qualified name, it searches through your library list, and your library list will start from your system libraries. I'm going to look at your current library, and after that, I'm going to look at your other user libraries. And wherever it finds the first match with the qualified object type, it will run the command. And if it doesn't find one, it'll just come back and tell you the object not found. When you provide the name of a qualified library along with an object name, it only searches in that library, right? So I already told you that information. What is the first thing that it checks? You provide the library name / the object name. So it's a qualified search. So what does it checks? The first thing that it checks? Answer is on page 97. Let's see, page 97. In the qualified name searches, the first thing it checks for is
If you're authorized to use it.
very good.
It's
Okay,
on page 87 too on the bottom.
it is on the page 87 as well.
Yeah.
So two things. 2 pages, I mean. Oh, it's also in the text. on page 87, right? I wanted to show visual, that's about it. So that, you know, yeah, so two references you got there, okay? So it first checks to see if you're authorized to use the library, okay? Once you're authorized to use the library, what's the next check on page 97? If you're authorized to use the library, what's the next check? The next check, see, for the check, you have to look for the diamond symbols, okay? The diamond symbols are the checks. So, authorized to library, yes. And then it checks whether it was found with proper type in the library. So if the object was found with a proper type in the library, okay? If the object was found with a proper type in the library, what does it check next? So it searches for whether you are even authorized to use this library. Very good. Okay. So that checks that. So those are the few checks that it does when it tries to locate an object for you. Storing an object. When you store an object and you do not provide any library name, where does your object get stored? Very good. Current library. Okay. What is a spool file? What is a spool file? Spool file is a staging area where your output is held temporarily for you to look at your output and see what you want to do with it. Either you want to discard it or send it to a physical printer. Very good. Okay. So your spool file remains in which queue? Which queue your spool file is staged? What's the name of that queue? Or which category of queue is it? Let me put it this way. The category of queue is it a message queue? Is it a print queue? Is it like what kind of queue? It's an output queue. Very good. It's an output queue where it gets assigned to a physical printer to which it can be then printed. Very good. Okay. So what is it that the operating system calls that monitors the output queue for spool file when operating system wants to print the spool file. What is that thing is called that the operating system calls to manage and print the spool file? Print writer, very good. That's page number 103. Okay. In the output queue, the jobs or spool files have status. Can you state some of those status in the chat? The output queue status. Output queue status are listed on page 104. One of them is release, which means that if the queue is assigned to a printer, the printer is started and set to the correct form type. Then we have the files will print as they go to the ready status. Then we have output queues can also have a status of held to prevent the indiscriminate printing of files. Notice that some of the files in the preceding screen are in the ready status and some are in the open status. And open status tells us that the program that is creating the print file is still running and has the file open. Okay, so those are the status for the spool files. Okay. Any questions so far? No questions. Okay. Before we take a break, I want you to be back on the main menu and press 90 for 90. That's sign off and press enter so that you're logged out. When we come back from the break, I will ask you to sign in again, just as a practice. We will go over chapter 2. And while we are going over chapter 2, we will be doing some hands-on alongside. Okay? Till then, let's take a break.
Press what keys to log out?
Say it again.
Press what keys to log out?
If you are on the main menu, 90.
90.
On the main menu, though, you have to be on the main menu to do that. And then when you do that, it logs you out.
Crap. How do you, okay.
How do you what?
Okay, got it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So I'll see you guys at 8 o'clock. So I'll pause the recording. Why are you confused? What are you confused about?
Because you hop from chapter 1 to 3
Mm-hmm.
to 2, and
Yeah.
now we're just starting to, even though you were talking about 3.
I was reviewing last week.
Oh, yeah, wait a minute. Oh, crap. wait a
Yeah,
minute.
we were.
Okay.
Yeah, we were still reviewing till now. And now we will be starting today's chapter. And as we start talking about today's chapter, I want you to also log in to the green screen again. So as we start looking at items, you can also do some hands-on with it. So as you guys can see under unit number 3, it is the PowerPoint for chapter number 2. Chapter 2 starts from page number 43. And Mastering IBM I First Edition, Chapter 2, Using Control Language. This chapter talks about several CL commands, but more importantly, talks about how CL commands are structured. That's what's important about CL commands, how they're structured, so that you can understand just by looking at the CL command. Without the complete spelling of the command, you should be able to see, oh, okay, so that's what it means. Okay, so that's what the objective of this chapter is, to make sure that you can do that. Just play around with some commands and also be able to create library, also be able to check your current library, also be able to put your library in the library list and things of that nature that we're going to try today. Okay, so if everybody is in the system, you're on the main menu, I suppose, once you log in. So you should be on the main menu, okay? So just make sure. So now, as we start looking into the chapter, I am right now looking at page 44 in the book and slide number 5. Using the IBM I command line is you can key in the CL commands and execute them directly. Which commands did we execute it before we went on break? Can anybody write those commands in the chat? The commands that we executed before we went on break. Very good, very good. So there are 2 commands that we wrote. One was display library command, and the other one was a create library command. Very good. Okay, so if you look at the syntax of the commands, typically commands are written in the following syntax. You have a command name, you have a space, you have a parameter, a space, and a parameter. It's basically the parameters that we do not know. So we type the command, and what do we do after that when we are not sure about the parameter sequence? After we type the command, when we do not know the parameter sequence, what do we do that the system will figure out for us the sequence? And we don't have to worry about the sequence because parameters have to be entered in a sequence. The sequence. Okay. Right? No? What did we do after we typed CRTLIB? Nope, we did not hit enter because CRTLIB is an incomplete command. What did we do to bring the parameters? F4, very good, Ismail. F4, okay. We did F1 once we were inside, but not from the prompt. So in the prompt, we hit F4, and that's exactly what brought prompt for us. And when you fill in the prompt, the system takes care of the correct sequence because parameters have to be the correct sequence if they are positional, which we'll talk about in this chapter, positional versus keyword notation. So commands have to be have parameters if they do in a correct order. Is there any command with no parameters? Very unlikely. Okay. Usually commands have parameters. So for example, over here, if I'm creating a library, so I type create library, I write the name of the library, I write the type of the library, and that is the correct sequence. The library name must come before the library type. If I goof around the sequence, that just messes up everything. Okay. So a general rule for CL command naming is that the very first three-letter set is always a verb, like create, display. So DSP, CRT, the first three letters will always be a verb. Okay? There are only two exceptions. I'm writing them in the chat. One is the go command that is only 2-letter long, but it's a verb. And the other one is a call command. It's a 4-letter long verb. With the exception of those two commands, all other commands, the first three are verbs. And the rest is a noun, and if needed, a modifier abbreviation. Okay, but all three are abbreviations except for go and call. So when we type the command DSPLIB, that was the DSP is abbreviation for display, and LIB is an abbreviation for library. CRTLIB, CRT is abbreviation for create, and LIB is abbreviation for library. Okay. Now turn to page number 45 and go over the table 2.1. Page 45, table 2.1. So all verbs, except for those two exceptions, call and go, are 3-letter long. Okay. How about nouns? Are all nouns 3-letter long?
Could you refresh me on what a noun is?
Noun? I mean, like noun, N-O-U-N, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Noun is the name of a place, thing, right? Generally in English, you know, so name of something is a noun. And verb is an action. So create is an action. Library is the name of a thing. It's an object. So anything that is an object is a noun. Anything that is an action on the object is a verb. And sometimes the nouns themselves are not very descriptive. So we have modifiers added to them. So all the verbs are abbreviated to 3 letters except for call and go. Okay. And it is preferred that if you can skip a vowel, you skip a vowel. Usually it does. But with nouns, do they always are 3 letters also, or 3 characters also? Mostly, but not always, right? So like, for example, here in the list, look at line number 3. We have a copy command. And in the copy command for the noun, we just have an F. F for file. It's only one letter, okay? Similarly, when we look at modifiers, the modifiers can also be 1 letters or 2 letters or 3 letters. For example, if you come down in the list, you will see for the edit command that it's edit object authority. That's all 3 filled. But if you come maybe like 2-3 lines down, open, query, and then you have an F for file, which is a modifier with only 1 letter. So things of like things of that nature, you know, sometimes you have 3-3-3, sometimes you have 3-1, sometimes you have 3-3-1 or 3-3-2. Is just basically how it is. Every command is different. Okay, now coming to the next topic, as I was talking about, that commands have to come in a sequence. Those sequence for parameters, I mean, parameters in the command have to come in a sequence. So those sequences could be keyword notation or could be positional notation. In a keyword notational command, you will see a command written like this, as you can see on slide number 16, and in your books, that'll be page 48. So you see the name of the command, followed by lib. And in the parentheses, you see the name of the library. So this is called keyword. Lib is a keyword. And then the next keyword is type. And then you write in parentheses, in parentheses, the value for the type. Then you write text, which is a keyword. And then you write the value for the text. So as you can see, each parameter has a keyword value pair. This is called a keyword notation command. Programmers prefer to write it this way. Okay. Now, look at the second example. What's the difference between the first 2 lines and the next 2 lines? So you see that some of the keywords are not in the same place as they are in the command above. However, since you have mentioned the keyword, that's more than enough for the system to know that the value for which keyword is what. Now you don't even have to put them in a correct sequence as long as you mention the keyword. So it knows even the type is required to be the second parameter. But now that you mentioned the name, it knows, oh, okay, test is the type, payroll development is the text, and library name is payroll. It can figure that much out. So that's the beauty of a keyword notation. On the contrary, if you're using positional notation, which is you start writing the command without keywords, like here, this one, look at this one, okay? Create library, payroll, test. You didn't write any keywords. Now, this is the correct sequence, though, by the way. After the create library, it requires the name of the library. After the name of the library, it requires the type of the library. So this will go through perfectly fine. But if you try to switch things around like this, it will yell back because this is how it is reading. Library, create library. Okay. The name of the library is asterisk test. It will just tell you back that you cannot use asterisks in the names of the libraries. And then it sees payroll to be the type. It starts yelling that payroll is not a valid type. So when you do not use the keyword notation, you have to make sure that the parameters are written in the correct sequence. Otherwise, you're better off using the keyword notations. Okay? Any question about keyword versus positional? Everybody understand that? Okay. That means we'll now move on to the next topic, which is about figuring out how to look for verbs and noun commands. So let me take you back to the green screen, the 5250. Okay. Can one of you tell me what command do we write to bring up a menu? No, what command? What CL command do we use to bring up a menu? What command? You already learned about it. On page number 46. Go, very good. Okay. You always type the word go, space, and then you write the name of the menu. So if you know the name of the menu, preceded by the go, will open that menu. Okay. So go space and then type major. Major. And what does that do? That brings up the major menu, means the most top level menu, which holds the command's information. That's called the major. That's what the name of that menu is, major. And you can see that in the top left corner. Okay. This is where you can get to see the command by verb and the command by noun, which is called subject. Okay. If I want to see all the verb commands, what option should I choose from the menu?
Verb.
2. And where should I write that? 2. Where should I type that to in the command line? Okay, so down below, I type 2, okay, and I hit enter.
So what was the command that you typed in? I know you typed in major at the end, but
I wrote in the chat what I wrote.
oh, okay.
Right above Ismail's comment. Okay. So now I'm looking at all the verb commands. Each command itself is a menu. And the name of the menu is on the right-hand side. So what is the name of the menu for the configuration commands? What's the name of the menu for the configuration commands? And that's CMD CFG. Very good. Okay. Now let's do a page down. What's the name of the menu for the dump commands? Dump. Very good. Okay. Can you tell me the name of the menu for the trap commands? Trap. Okay. Now, let's hit F3 and let's come back to the main menu. So in the chat, you guys provided me with 3 menu names. A command CFG for configurations, a command DMP for dump, right? And the command TRP for trap. Now I've learned that the name of the menu CMD CFG will take me to all the commands that are about a verb called configuration or configure. So now, right on the command prompt, I type go space CMD CFG and enter. So since I know the name of the menu, I can directly go there. And one thing you will notice in common between all the menus, be it trap, be it config, that they all start with CMD. That's common across the board. All command menus start with CMD. Okay, so that's something to remember. Okay, if I give you a verb, let's say copy, what do you think will be the name of the menu of the copy verb? Very good, CMD CPY. Awesome. Okay, if there is a verb called delete, what will be the menu name?
CMD
DLT. Very good. Okay. If there is a verb called create, what will be the name of the menu for all the create commands? Very good. Now try that. Type go space CMD_CRT. What happens? You get to see all the create commands. Okay. Do you understand this much? That how you can get to a menu of any of the verbs. Now, let's F3 out of here, back to the main menu. What was the very first menu that I went to where I get to see all the verbs and the subjects and all the others? What was the name of that menu? Major, right? So we'll go to go major again. So we are on the major menu. How are the nouns categorized here as? They're not called nouns. What does the system calls them? Subject. Very good. Okay. Now that I know the nouns are called subject. Okay, let me F3 out of here. Now that I know that noun menus are in a menu called subject, I will type go space subject. Go space subject. And I get to see all the subject commands, all the noun commands. Okay. What's common between all these menu names? They all start with CMD. That's exactly how all the verb menus also started, right? Okay, so if I am looking for a subject file, so I want to see all the file commands. So let me scroll down to the letter F because they're all alphabetically organized. Okay, now do I have a command for file? Right, CMD FILE. Okay. Now, what do you think will be the name of the menu for library commands? Library commands. What do you think? Okay, let's page down to the letter L. And you can see right at the bottom on line number 195 that it is what Pam wrote. So Pamela wrote CMD LIB, and that's exactly what it is. Okay, now similarly, what do you think will be the name of the command of the subject user? If the subject is user, Okay, so for the user subject, look at line number 373, and that is CMD USR. So you basically get the point. If you know the subject, or if you know the verb, you can locate what commands are there in the system for that verb or for that subject. All you need to do is type go space CMD and whatever that verb is, or go space CMD, whatever that subject is, and boom, you're there to work with that verb or to work with that subject. So far, so good, everybody? Okay, now let's F3 out of here. Back to the main menu. Now let's try to go to the library commands, right? That's what the name of the menu is, CMD LIB. So that's what we will type. Go CMD LIB. So that takes us to the library commands. Okay, now that we are in the library commands, we can now see that these library commands are now defined by verbs, because that's how they're differentiated from each other, because they're all the same subject. Some are about creating, some are about ending, some are about deleting, some are about clearing, but it's all about that stuff, okay? Can you see a command to create a library? Now that we are at the command level, right? We're inside a menu. Now we're not seeing any submenus. We're seeing the commands. That's why if you check the right-hand side doesn't say CMD. It just says the name of the command that will run if you pick that option. You can either type CRT-LIB on the prompt, but since you're already here, which number should you pick to create a library? 6. Very good. 6. Okay. So we're going to type down here, down below here, 6. And oops. Oh, good problem. Good problem. Do you guys see a little red X and 2 red eyes? Right? Anytime that happens, that means you tried to do something weird and the system took the control away from your keyboard. So you don't have the control of the keyboard anymore. System just disabled that control. You can hit escape. Okay. And then it will give you back your control, or you can just simply click. Somehow it'll get the control back. Okay. Now that I have the control back, I'm pressing number 6. I actually clicked outside of the prompt and I tried to press 6, so it took the control away from me. So now when I push 6 and I hit enter, see what it does? It automatically takes me to the prompt. I don't have to type CRT-LIB and press F4. I didn't have to do that. It directly took me to the prompt. Is everybody with me on this one so far? Is everybody on the create library prompt? Which is very much like page number 49, okay? So we will now be creating our very first library, okay? I want you to name your first library after your first name, okay? Libraries can be up to 10 characters long. So after you enter the name of your library, then put maybe a number, let's say 1. So I'm using Saad 1. You can use, let's say, Pamela 1 or Ismail 1, okay, or Xavier 1 or Dar 1, whatever you want to call it. Okay, just stick a 1 there in the name. The rest of the parameters, leave them as they are. No, don't change anything, okay? And hit enter. Do you get a little message at the bottom that says library so-and-so got created? right? Okay, cool. That means the library is created, okay? Now, when the library gets created, do they automatically appear in your library list? And the answer is no, they don't. Let's quickly check that. What command do I use to check my library list, guys? What command do I use to check my library list? Very good. Display library list, okay? Or if I'm on this menu, you are right, Pamela, I use option 8. Very good. Either way, I can do that. So let's try option 8 and hit enter, okay? Now it is asking me, what library list are you looking for? Okay. Now if I hit enter here, it gives me my library. Now, do you see your first name and number 1 library here? And your answer will be no, I don't. And you will not. Okay. Now let's F3 out of here. 1. And then you're back here to the library commands. So I want everybody to be back. By pressing F3 once, you will be back into your library commands. Now press, okay, let me ask you a question. What function key should I press to go through the history of commands that I've typed in this session? Which function key will give me the history of commands? Very good. F9, F9, okay? Now, press F9 once. You will see the display library command. Press F9 again. You will see the create library command. Okay, so I want you to probably press F9 only twice, or till you can see the CRT LIB, and then in the lib, you can see Saad, like your first name and the number 1. Once you are there, I want you to click under the number 1, and you will see a cursor blinking, an insertion point under the number 1. Now on your keyboard, press the number 2, and it will replace the 1 with the 2, because by default, the insert key is on. Wherever you press a key, it will replace the existing item. And then simply press enter. And it'll tell you the library Saad 2, or whatever your first name 2 is also created. So you have 2 libraries created, guys. Good job. Now we need to make sure how to make those libraries available in the library list. Does anybody remember from chapter 3, which command can I use to make that happen? Which command from chapter 3 will help me add my library to my library list? Nope, nope, nope. Look at chapter 3, guys. Chapter 3. Which command will help me add my library to my library list? Very good. Nathan got it. Nathan got it. Okay. Nathan, what page number is that for everybody will know? 91. Pamela also got it. Very good, Pamela. Thank you. 91. Okay. So that's the command we got to use here. So on the command prompt, we will type the command. Oh, there's one thing missing in Pamela. Pamela's command, Nathan's command is correct because you're missing an E in your answer, Pamela. That's the only thing, okay? So what Nathan wrote, I'm writing add library list entry, okay? Add library list entry. Add, L-I-B-L-E. What is add? A verb or a noun? Verb, okay. What is LIB library? Is it a subject, noun? Is it a noun, subject, or is it a modifier? Noun, okay. What is LE? It's a modifier, okay. What does LE stands for? List entry, very good, okay. Now, what do I do? Press enter. Press enter, okay. Now, it is asking me, what library are you interested in adding? So I'm like, I need to add a library, Saad 1. Okay, and then I'm going to press enter. And it says Saad 1 added to the library list. Hey, awesome. I said, okay, cool, good job. Okay, now, what function key do I press for me to bring the previous command that I typed? F9, very good, F9, okay. Now, press F9 once. The command that I typed earlier is already there. I go down, and instead of 1, I make that a 2. Instead of 1, I make that a 2, and press enter. And say, you know what? Saad 2 is also added to the library list. Very good. Okay. Now, how do I check to make sure that they're really there? What do I do? Check is display library, right? So DSPLIB, enter, and I can see Saad 2 and Saad 1, okay? Why Saad 2 before Saad 1?
Because it's the newest one created.
No, I'll show you why in just a minute. When you type add library list just by itself, add library list entry, okay? Notice, what does it say in the list position? Jalen, hit control key on the keyboard. First, it says first, right? That means default is whatever library you add, if you do not mention the position, it will be at the top of the user library list. So if I enter library 2 second, the library 2 goes first in the list because the default list position is first. Okay, now let's change the order, right? So we will type a command, edit. What should be the short for edit? EDT, okay. EDT, LIB for library and L for list. EDT, LIBL, edit library list. Okay, let's do that. Edit library list, enter. Okay. Now, you see Saad 2, then you see Saad 1. I want to move Saad 1 before Saad 2. How can I do that? I will go down to Saad 1, and where it says 20, right? I'll just delete 20, and I'm going to go all the way to the right, and I'll type in a number that's less than 10, but greater than 0, okay? And let's say I put 6. It could be any number, and hit enter. Notice their position changed. Saad 1 became first, Saad 2 became second, and it automatically does that for me. Does that make sense? Okay, how do I come out of this? How do I come out of here? Always same key, F3, right? Okay, F3. Now, let's look at the library list again. So I'll press F9 a couple times to see the display library command on the prompt, and I hit enter. And notice now Saad 1 lists higher than Saad 2 because I changed their position. What's my current library? Your current library is your user profile, right? Okay. Now, I am giving you a task in the chat and give me the answer in the chat. Provide me with steps to locate a command for assuming that you do not know the command. Don't try to break up the words by dropping vowels. Okay, tell me the steps that you will take to get to finding that command. Don't give me the command, this the steps. So let me follow Ismail's steps. Ismail is telling me type CMDLIB. Okay, CMDLIB doesn't take me anywhere. Ismail, when I type CMDLIB, it does nothing. It just tells me there is no command like that. Very good. See, that sometimes, you know, we need to remember that user may not know. So when I type go CMDLIB, then it takes me to all the library commands. Okay. I want to change the current library. Okay. the command you asked me to pick was the wrong command. You asked me to pick option 3, right? Instead of which option you should have given me? Number 2. Very good. Okay. So I should have either picked option 2 or typed the command change current library. Does that make sense to you guys? How do you go about locating something? Okay. Now, let me go back to the PowerPoint slides, okay? So here we are in the PowerPoint and looking at the library list. You guys already know how to get to see your library list. You already know how to go about, okay, let's look at jail. Is there any, well, you know, that is the way to locate new commands. That you either look them up by verb or by subject, or if you know the subject or the verb, you directly go to that subject or verb and you try to locate the command. So that's the way to locate the command. Now, once you locate the command and if you use it very often, you don't have to keep looking for it. You could go to major, right? And then you can go to subject, and then you can go, I mean, like you can go the long route too, right? Exactly. Or if you know the name, okay, you're like, okay, I'm looking for library commands. So they must all be inside a menu called cmdlib. You can just type go cmdlib, and then you can just go there. Or if you do not know the actual name of the menu, then you can go to major, and then you can go to a verb or a subject, and then you can try to locate them, and then you put in that item number in the command prompt, and then you get to that item number, and then you locate the command. Again, you know, that's a long way you can take if you do not know. Does that make sense? Jalen, did you get it?
My eyes kind of glossed over a little bit when you said that.
Say it again, Dar. I can hear you.
I said my eyes kind of glossed over a little bit when you said that.
What do you mean?
Like, I kind of got it, but not really.
Okay, so basically what I said was there are multiple ways of locating a command. One way to locate a command would be to go major, and you start looking at, okay, the command I'm looking for, is that a verb or a subject? And all commands have verb and subject, both of them. So for example, the question that we had was to locate a command for changing the current library. So I could get to that command either by a verb called change or a subject called library. I have 2 ways of getting to that same command. I'm like, okay, let me go the subject route. So I choose option number 3 and give me all the subject commands. What is the name of my subject, Dar, that I'm looking for? Dar.
I heard you.
What is the name of my subject? What was the question, Dar? What am I looking for? What command? I wrote in the chat. What was the problem that we were solving?
You're looking for a current library, right?
Okay, so what's the name of my subject? Is current a subject or a library a subject or change a subject? It has to be one of the three.
Library.
Library, very good. Okay, so I am in the subject commands and I got a page down till I can get to the library. Okay. And library. Okay. Can you locate on my screen the library commands? What option is that?
195.
195. Okay, what is the name of that library commands menu? The name of the menus are on the right-hand side. The name of the number is on the left. So what's the name of the menu?
CMD LIB.
Correct. Okay. So anybody who has worked with the system for some time always knows that all the menus are starting with CMD. The first three letters are always C, M, and D. The next three letters are either a verb or a noun, or verb or a subject. Okay. So my subject is LIB. So that's why Ismail wrote that type go CMD LIB. So he went directly, without having to go through this long process, he went directly to that menu. I could actually go through the long process by now typing 195 and then go to the library commands. Or I can just take a shortcut and type go CMD LIB and still land in the same place. So whatever works, shorter or longer route, doesn't matter, whatever works, you get to where you need to be. So now I'm looking at all the library commands. The one that I need is, the one I'm looking for is Dar.
Change library.
Okay, which command? No, not change library. Read again. What did I write? I didn't ask for change library. I asked for in the comments, in the chat.
Oh, change current library.
Change current, that's important. Change current library, okay? So in this list, which option will be change current library?
Second one.
Option number 2, very good, okay? Now, once you get this far and you've used this maybe a few times, you don't even need to come this far. All you need to know is, okay, change current library. You'll just directly type the command. Because you've used it so many times that you have memorized it. So you will not go look for commands every time. The commands that you use more often, you get familiar with them. So you just directly use them. That's basically was the whole point of doing this activity, that if you do not know the command, how do you go about looking for it? By major, by verb, by subject. That's all it is, okay?
Okay.
Okay, now moving back to the PowerPoint. So library list is created for each job, usually from system values, a job description, and the user's profile's current library value. When the user profile is activated at sign on. Various CL commands can change the library list while the job is running. And the library list can be of the following 4 types, or the library list consists of 4 parts. This list includes system libraries. You can have up to 15 system libraries. You can have none, 1, or maximum of 2 production libraries that are usually used when you're trying to run a program. You basically put it in a production library, it runs, and at the end of the process, the production library wraps up, it's done, it's over. It doesn't stay there. Okay, current library. You can have only 1 and only 1 current library. And you can have up to 250 other libraries, which could be libraries that you own, libraries you have a right of access to. Somebody else created them and gave you the authority. So you can include them in your library list. Okay, So total, how many libraries maximum can you have in your library list? Quick math, and Ismail got it 268, which is 15 plus 2 is 17 plus 1, 18, 18 plus 2, 50 is 268 maximum, provided in each category, you can only go maximum, whatever it states over here. Okay, clear? Okay, now comes slide number 28, which is about the libraries that are shipped with the operating system. One of them is a QSys library, and that contains the essential system objects, such as system programs and commands, as well as pointers to all other libraries. Okay. QSys2 contains additional system programs and files, and QHelp system contains all the help information for different screens, and QUserSys contains other IBM supplied objects needed for several functions, as well as user message queues for holding messages. That is specially designed to hold user operations. Now, the production library or the product library is needed for some tasks a user has requested. For example, if a user requests compilation of an RPG program, the library QRPGLE is inserted as a product library during the compile process, and the production library is automatically removed when the process is done. You don't see it. It just gets compiled, produced, done. Current library is a specially designed user library into which by default newly created objects are placed. And then user library are the names of libraries that organize a program screens, data files, applications that the user need to do business on the system. Anything and everything that you want to put there stays there. The user portion of the library list can contain up to 250 library names. Because different users perform different types of work and have different requirements, the user library list can be customized for each user or for groups of users that have similar need. When objects are created, they're placed in a library. This association is logical, as we learn in chapter number 3, right? Unless you specify otherwise, all new objects are placed in current library. Okay, moving on to oops, where did I go? Where did I go? Okay. Oh, here. Here. Okay. Unless you specify, otherwise, the system searches the library list for requested objects. This is the meaning of library list. So remember, when you are displaying the library and it asks for, okay, do you want to search in the library list? That's what it means, that I want to search in the library list to see what libraries I have. Okay. The needs of the individual user determine the libraries included. So that's how you figure out what libraries are included in the library list of a user. It's all based on needs. Every individual users on the system may have a unique, personally tailored library list. More commonly, groups of users with similar work requirements have the same or similar library list, with perhaps only the current library being unique. I will let you guys go over the last 3 slides, or if you have your books on you, pages 64, 65, the chapter summary. Okay, guys, let's, in the last minute, let me tell you what I am asking you to do this week. This week, you have a new assignment and a new quiz. The new assignment, which is assigned to you today, it should be due by the 27th and 28th. It should actually change the due date to 27. Okay, so it's due by the 27th midnight. And also the quiz, that's another item that is also due by the 27th midnight. Okay. What is due tonight? Exactly. Unit 2, you have an assignment 1 that is due tonight, and the quiz number 1. Those are the 2 items that are due tonight, midnight. Okay, so take care of those. As I was looking at the grade book, half of you still need to turn in your assignment and the quiz, or the quiz, whatever. Okay, so anyway, you're not done with your first week stuff. Still have time till midnight tonight to take care of them. And that's all for tonight. Any questions before we call it a night?